Yeah, we are laying up good stuff. Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Backdraft and welcome to another episode on the Symmetria server. This is episode number 14. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we start today's episode on an AFK platform. And you're probably wondering what for. Well, I have big plans today to add additional things. There's a pressure plate missing from the top of the central spire. We're gonna have to fix that, but sorry for that distraction. I have big plans today to expand our farming capabilities at the Agrabah Palace. So right now, all we have is a dinky little sugarcane farm. And I've been talking about building farms in all these towers, and I think it's time that we start building a couple more. So for this episode, I have big plans. I don't know how much I'm gonna get done in just one episode, but the first thing that we're going to do involves this tower right here. And I have a plan to create a mob farm. I have the farm mapped out already in a creative world. So essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna build spawning platforms right up here. I think we're just gonna use the space that we already have to push everything down into the middle and drop them down and send them to their doom. And then we will collect all of their drops. Now the one thing that I was hoping to get from this farm, well actually a few things I was hoping to get from this farm, bones, because we're gonna need bone meal, gunpowder, because we're gonna need gunpowder. Yes, I know we have a witch farm, but if I can create my own, you know, then we don't have to take away from the community supply if we can help it. Same thing with bone meal. I know we have a lot over at the iron farm, but I like making farms. If you guys don't know that by now, then I don't know anything. Okay, so this is what the plan is. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna build up this mob farm, and we're gonna build up the collection system down at the bottom, and hopefully we'll be able to use the gunpowder. And I don't know if we're gonna get sand from this. We do have a data pack installed on the server that allows husks to drop sand, but I don't know if we're gonna get much sand from this because the husks need sky access to be able to. There's a block out of place. I'm finding so much wrong with the build. Keep getting sidetracked. What was I saying? Oh yeah, husks. I don't know if we're gonna get a lot of sand because husks need access to the sky to spawn, and I don't know if I want to put glass on this roof or anything. Plus there were some talks about building a community sand farm in our mining desert that's off down the south tunnel of the Nether hub. But anyway, we're gonna get cracking with this farm, and then after we make some progress on this, I'm gonna let you guys know what the plans are for the rest of the episode and for another farm that I plan on building. Alrighty, so we are fresh off of a live stream where we made some pretty decent progress on the farm, and let me show you guys what we are working with so far. So I've set up the chests down here for the collection system, which is where we're going to be collecting all the items from the mob drops, and up top is where I have the mob spawning platforms and the clock with the water streams that are going to flush all the mobs into the middle and ultimately kill them. And it looks like we have a couple mobs spawning in here right now. I've smacked out the top so that I can go up there and do some maintenance on the clock and, you know, the rails and all the lines that are leading down to the dispensers. But ultimately what we have is in each of the dispensers we have a water bucket and we have a clock up top, which will alternate between flushing them out with water and letting them spawn every 30-ish seconds or so. So let me jet up there real quick. I'm going to be putting the blocks back, obviously, because we don't want any light in this farm. So let me jet up here real quick and I'll show you guys what we got going on up here. So I have a lever right here which is controlling the clock, and when this lamp is on, that basically means the system is off. It also has a little bit of light so that mobs won't spawn as frequently in here. But I have a whole stack of items actually in this clock up here, which gives us, like I said, about 30 to 40 seconds between spawning mobs and flushing them out. And we have all these activator rails set up leading down to each of the 5 dispensers on each side of the tower. But yeah, I'm gonna keep cracking on, and once we have this thing done, I think we'll be doing some AFK, and I will catch up with you guys when we get to that point. So we finished up the storage system for the farm, and that was all she wrote. So we did about 8 hours of AFK with this bad boy, and we got a decent amount of items. So you can see it working really well right here. You can see the mobs are spawning, and they're getting flushed down into the center where they will fall to their doom, and their items will be collected by the storage system down below. So in the 8 hours that we AFK'd, there were quite a few players online, and the fact that this farm is pretty tiny, we didn't really get get that many items. I wasn't really expecting that many anyway. So we ended up with quite a few arrows, quite a few pieces of string, not as much string, and pretty much no spider eyes. It doesn't seem like many spiders were spawning in this farm. I have sounds off right now actually, so sorry about that. And we got quite a bit of gunpowder, about almost 9 stacks of gunpowder. Not much rotten flesh, not very many zombies are spawning either, which is kind of odd. And a lot of bones, meaning a lot of skeletons are spawning. So the items that I wanted out of this farm, the gunpowder and the bones, seem to be collecting in mass, which is really good, because if we need any items from this farm, those are the ones we are going to need. So we're going to be doing a lot more AFK with this farm so that we can collect up a ton of TNT and a ton of bone meal for the farm that we are going to be building next. And that farm is this bad boy right here. This is a netherwood farm. So first off, this is based on a design that was done by Rayworks. It's not exactly the same. There's just a couple elements that I was able to get from his design. I'll link his design down in the description, but I'm now going to explain everything that this farm is doing. So down below here, hidden behind all of these wart blocks, we have 3 pieces of nylium, and we have a dispenser that's controlled by a clock, which will bone meal that nylium, and then you will have a chance to get 1 or more of the new funguses. So if a fungus spawns, these dispensers up top will bone meal it, and that will grow a tree. So when a tree grows like one just did, 2 TNT will drop down from up above, breaking all the blocks, and then they will be collected right here by these hoppers. So we have a bunch of ender chests here, because ender chests just so happen to be the only block in the game, well, one of the only blocks in the game, that allow items to pass through them if there's a hopper underneath, and are blast resistant. So that's the reason we're doing that. And the reason we're covering up the hoppers is because we don't want any of the wart blocks growing on top of the hoppers and blocking them. Plus the explosion, since it's happening up here, won't be able to break blocks that are that low. So if we get a So once we get one of the funguses and it grows, there's one right there actually, we're lucky enough to see. You see the tree will grow right there. This piston column right here will push the tree out of the way so that the TNT can come down and blow up most of the blocks. Now there are a few blocks here and there that do get left behind, but I've tested this for several hours and all the blocks will eventually get destroyed because the TNT blasts will get them. Here comes another tree right now. You see the TNT drops down. It is just 2 TNT. You could drop more, but this design I've actually compacted a bit, and I'm using TNT dispensers because we are not allowed to use TNT duplicators on this server. So any of these warp roots that end up spawning will get collected by these hoppers down below. Some of them will go flying off in random directions, but most of them will end up in these hoppers down here. They will be fed up through this dropper column up into this hopper right here, and then ultimately into the composter, where they will become bone meal and be fed back into the system. Also, any of the wart blocks and shroom lights that are generated from this system will also be turned back into bone meal. Now it is possible to have a fully self-sustaining farm, but you will need 5 nylium blocks for that design. So this one isn't fully self-sustaining per se. It does use about 2 stacks of bone meal per hour, but I'm happy with that rate. That doesn't really bother me. From all the vigorous testing I did, there were a couple things that I had to account for, one of which was that if the warped fungus turns into a tree, there is a chance that the nylium will turn back into a block of netherrack, because if it is blocked by an opaque block, then, like I said, like grass, it has a chance to turn back into netherrack, much like grass has a chance to turn back into dirt. Now to combat that, the dispenser that's dispensing the bone meal into the middle nylium will take care of that one if it's turned back into netherrack, because bone mealing it will turn it back into nylium. For the 2 on the ends, we actually have set up this contraption right here, which is just a simple daylight sensor, so that once a day, these dispensers will be fired off, and if it just so happens that the pieces of nylium turned into netherrack, they will be turned back into nylium after the daylight sensor goes off. And one more little thing that could potentially happen, which we don't have taken care of in this design, but we will when we build it on Symmetria, is that if 2 trees grow rapidly back to back, there is a chance that the TNT will either get stuck on top of this piece of ancient debris, or at the tippy top of the trees right here, and it could potentially blow up the pistons and the redstone and stuff up here. So the way that we're going to combat that is we're going to make sure that all of this is covered up in obsidian, and as a double safety mechanism, we're going to add in a delay to grow the next tree once a tree grows. So we're simply just going to add in a mechanism right around here that will stop the next tree from growing if the TNT has not exploded yet, so that we can give the TNT some time to blow up before the next tree is grown. So this farm will produce about 6 to 7 stacks of warped wood per hour and use about 2 stacks of bone meal per hour. Like I said, you can make these self-sustaining. This one, I decided to sacrifice compactness for self-sustaining, if that makes any sense. I wanted to make it a bit smaller than a design that would have been self-sustaining. So 6 to 7 stacks of wood per hour is worth it for moi. Now let's pop back over to Symmetria because we're actually going to build our first one of these. Yes, that's right, we're actually building 2. One for me and one for our friend Fluffybutt. We popped over to Fluffybutt's base on the server, and I'm pretty sure his base is built on top of a giant mob farm. I think that's what these 4 little silo things are right here. I think each of them has space for mobs to spawn, and he just kind of drops them down below and collects everything. It's all a work in progress as far as I know. It's crazy. It's crazy the things that the people do on this server, especially with redstone. Seeing redstone contraptions just brings giant smiles to my face because everybody knows that I am an avid redstoner. And I am a redstone enthusiast, and it's amazing, and I love seeing it. But anyway, we're gonna pop down here because this is where we are going to build the nether wood farm that I just showcased to you right on top of this plot right here. And he has already left the payment for me right here, which is super awesome. Thank you so much, Fluffybutt. And we are gonna get started on this farm right now, and I'm going to build it in the form of a 3rd-person time lapse. So I hope you guys enjoy, and roll that music. Everything should be good to go. I hope you enjoyed that time lapse, and let me show you around a little bit. It is the same exact design that I demoed in the creative world. So we have the on-off switch right over here. We got the chests over here for the loot, the nylium and the bone meal and all that contraption part. Certificator, I guess, sort of thing, is right over here. The clocks are set right over here, and if we come up, as you can see, we have the blast pad with the ancient debris leading all the way up to where the TNT is dispensed out. Now, I did some testing with this. I don't think I'm gonna do it live on camera, I did it off camera and I recorded it, so I'll pull that up right now to show you guys that the thing is working. You can see that a tree spawns and that the TNT successfully drops down and demolishes the parts of the tree. I don't want to use up all of Fluffybutts. There's a zombie down there. Anyway, I don't want. Oh my goodness. I need to stay on track. As I was saying, I didn't want to use up all of Fluffybutts TNT, and I just want him to come and use it and fill this bad boy up. It should work just fine based on the testing that I did. I did have to do a bunch of different tests with the TNT drops to make sure everything worked. There was a couple flaws that I had to fix while we were testing that out. Nothing too major, nothing exploded ridiculously and, set us back. But anyway, I left some signs for Fluffybutt over here on how to use this bad boy, and hopefully it should work fine. Now, I'm gonna build one for myself. But that, unfortunately, will have to wait till next episode. I am out of time, so make sure you tune in next time. We will be building our Netherwood farm in this tower right behind me at the Agrabah Palace. So yeah, if you guys like this video, please do not hesitate to hit that thumbs up. And if you really enjoyed it and are looking forward to future episodes on the Symmetria server, then hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. I am still trying to get to 500 subscribers, and once I do, I will be doing a face reveal. So if you guys could give me as much help as you can, like the video, share it with your friends. If you are enjoying the content, I appreciate it. I'll see you guys again. Take care. Bye-bye.